so wonderful because as you spend time studying the Bible, it becomes more and more alive to you. And you begin to see how a hero Jesus is, because he was very strong here. You know, and he had some real enemies, and they deserved to be enemies because they were bad people. They were supposed to be the people blessing their country, and they were not. They were cursing their country. They made attempts to trap Jesus. And I want you to remember this. They asked him the question about paying taxes to Caesar. Remember what he did? Remember what he did? What did he do? He said, I don't know. Maybe I could borrow a coin and keep it from one of you. No. He made them look at a coin, correct? He said, whose face is on this coin? They said, Caesar. Well, said, give to Caesar the things of Caesar, but give to God the things of God. Now don't forget that, because when we get to his trial, you will find that these men are great liars. They're going to tell Pilate that Jesus told them not to pay taxes, which is a lie. See, they were trying to get Jesus to say, don't pay taxes, so they could charge him with being a revolutionary, trying to overthrow the government. But he wasn't. He knows that he can win the government by converting the world. He don't have to kill people. He don't have to do that. So he did not tell them not to pay taxes. He told them to pay taxes. So Matthew 22:15-21, they try to trick him. They think they're very intelligent, but they're facing Jesus. Then they talk to him about a very interesting trick. You can almost hear them arguing, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Sadducees says there is no resurrection. There are no angels. The only thing we have is the first 5 books of the law. And if you don't have any children, your memory is gone because there's no afterlife. But the Pharisees said, no, there's angels. And there's a resurrection. So they argued, and the Pharisees thought, we got one, we will trick him on. A man, what was that? The woman who'd been married to, 7 brothers? And they all died. And the resurrection, whose wife is she? And Jesus said to him, your problem is that, well, you got 2 problems. You don't know the scriptures and you don't know the power of God. Right? Because he said, in the resurrection, and you remember this as people come around and tell you that you can be married forever in heaven. He says, there is no giving in marriage and taking in marriage. We'll love each other in a way we can't imagine now, but not as husband and wife. All right? That was his answer to them. And then, what is the greatest commandment? And they argued about that. Because when you have 300 and some commandments, you want to know which is the big commandments, right? And he asked the fellow himself, what do you think it is? You know? And of course it is to love God with all your heart, completely, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And that was the thing. So they did not trick him. They did not get him in trouble, but he answered it every time. Then they had this, when you study Matthew very carefully, when you get to chapter 23, it's a very sad chapter. The word woe, he pronounced many woes upon the Pharisees and the scribes. Now if Jesus says to you, woe unto you, that's a lot of different than he says, blessed are you. Yeah. If it says, blessed are you, you're happy. Yes. You're blessed. On the other side, it is a curse upon you. It's a terrible thing. And he says, woe unto you, sadness unto you. And he talks about their terrible conduct. Can you imagine men who will steal money from widows? But they would. You can imagine somebody that would not take care of their nanang or their tatang? But they would not. They would say, oh, I'd like to give you some money, nanang, but I'm helping to build the chapel. I'm helping to build the temple. It's all been given to God. That's not the way it is. Jesus showed them that. So that's a very interesting chapter for you to look at. Because these people, how shall you escape the sentence? Look how he says here. How can you escape the sentence of Hades, hell? And the answer is you cannot. Now, were they good-looking men? Yes. Were they powerful men? Yes. Were they wealthy men? Yes. Were they in charge? Yes. Were they wrong? Were they wrong? Yes. Were they going to heaven? No. So, you think Jesus is weakling? Jesus mourned over the city of Jerusalem because he did not hate them when he told these things. He loved them. And as he looked at those things, he sees how terrible it's going to be for them in the future. And I'll jump ahead. When he's on his way to the cross, and some ladies are crying, huh? They look at him and they're crying. You know the Station of the Cross thing. They're crying. What does it say? Don't cry for me. Cry for yourself. You're going to see the time when you're going to say, I'm lucky that I didn't get married. And I'm lucky I didn't have any children. Huh? Because of what's going to happen when the destruction comes from the Romans. All right. That's the thing there. I'll just go ahead. Then the destruction of the temple. Mateo capítulo 24, Lucas capítulo 21, Marcos capítulo 13. All those chapters talk about the destruction of Jerusalem and the second coming of Jesus. And he had some stories to tell there, but he predicts the destruction of the temple, which they could not believe could happen. It had taken 40 some years already, Herod, to make the people like him, has been building the temple, making it bigger and better and more beautiful. And it was gorgeous, grande. Huh? Then there's a story of while Jesus was sitting there in the temple teaching, a lady come and gave only 2 tiny coins and dropped it in the treasury. And what did Jesus say? She gave it much more than those big people that were throwing their money. 3 more parables were then told by Jesus. The 10 virgins, the talents, and the sheep and the goat. Now, what are these 3 parables about? He's talking about the coming destruction. Now, if you heard destruction was coming, what's your duty? Get ready. Get ready. Be prepared. What was the story of these 10 girls? They're all like bridesmaids. They're all dressed up. They're very beautiful, right? And in those days, you don't turn on electric light. To have any lights, somebody has to carry the lights. And what did the 5 do? They got ready and had to stare. What did the other 5 do? Careless like. They didn't listen. And so when it's time to light the way, they're left behind. They're left behind. They're lost. The talents. They did not, they told the story of the men. What was the story about? Using the abilities you have for God when? Not talent, but it was talking about using money at that time. Now. Getting ready now. What's this one here about? Sheep and goats.
Separation.
What's the difference between the sheep and goats in the story? The sheep are on which side?
Right.
Right. The goats are on the left. What's the difference between a sheep and a goat? When Jesus talks about that, he's talking about when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. Huh? When I was in prison, you visited me. And he's talking about what? Doing things for other people. It's not, I went to Taxco, Mexico, y'all. It's the place where they used to dig the silver that they made the pesos that for like 250 years, the Spaniards used to come every year with a galleon, and they had a load of silver pesos, which they came to Manila, and they bought stuff from China and all over and went back. Now, in Taxco, there's a very big cathedral, and there's a man's picture there. And he paid for a lot of that. And every altar in there has to do with the sufferings of Jesus. What? Did he feed anybody? Does Jesus care if you put up a big simbahan or a cathedral? Does he? Does the shepherd care what kind of chapel people meet in? Or does he care that his people are not lost? And the picture was here what? Taking care of people, not taking care of people. Getting ready for Jesus to come again, because when the chief shepherd comes, his question is not going to be, how big was the place that you sat and looked at me or worshiped me, but what is it? Where are my people? That's the difference. But that is all are saying one thing. Get ready, for the time is coming. Then a day we don't see much activity was Wednesday. Jesus' enemies could not answer him. So what do they do when they can't answer? When you get in a discussion with somebody and they don't win the discussion, what do some people do? They get emotional, right? And we always like to see the movies, because in our movies They have to watch on the bus, then they start hitting each other. I saw some about two Baba'i fighting the other day. All the way to, they come for 2 hours fighting on the bus. They weren't on the bus fighting, they were on the movie fighting. Why? Because when you can't answer somebody, you hit somebody, correct? So, they said, kill him. Kill him. Judas and Satan were busy on this day. Satan put it in the heart of Judas to betray Jesus. Jesus is not going to be the kind of king that Judas wants. He wants somebody of this world. How do you know that? Because he will sell Jesus for silver in this world. The agreement to betray Jesus was made with wicked men. Can you imagine leaders of a religion agreeing to kill somebody? Huh? Thursday was a day of action. The hour had come. Jesus will not sleep before dying. Will not sleep. It should be sleep there. We're going to change that. Preparation for the Passover was made. He sent Peter and John into town to prepare for the last Passover, and this will be the last Passover of the Jewish religion. Do you realize that?
Yes.
Never again will there be a Passover authorized by God except the Passover you keep, which is your remembering Jesus' death. Okay? Man carrying a pitcher of water came. Jesus knew he was going to be there. And the disciples went to him, and that's where he went to have his feast. Why was this Passover so important? It was his fellowship before suffering. He wanted to eat this Passover. He will exemplify the Passover lamb for us always. At this, he will meet with his disciples, and he'll start something new. This was the last one God gave them. The gospel will come, and the law will go away. Jesus is now our Passover. He is our Passover. And the Lord's Supper is coming. After the Passover was done, it was then that he took bread. It was then that he gave a cup, and that was completely new. Nothing like that had happened before. It's the institution of something new. But it was done at that last Passover. Jesus obeyed God's Passover until the end. He became the Lamb of God that took away the sins of the world. At the supper, Friday had already begun because it was sunset. The disciples were arguing. Can you imagine? They're arguing on the way to Jerusalem when he's told them, we're going there for me to die. They're arguing who is going to be number one and who's going to be number two. Can you hear them? James and John of Zebedee saying, well, our mother is the one helping us with our food. Why shouldn't we be first? Peter said, well, we were early. What about these later fellows? Can't you hear their argument? When we get the kingdom, I suffered a lot more than you. I gave up my boat. What did you give up? On and on and on, right? They're arguing. But we put a halo around their head. Not yet. They don't deserve a halo yet because they gotta change. They gotta earn it, right? That's not no halo on these boys' head. All right. Who's the greatest? Can you imagine? You're sitting there at a feast, remembering how God delivered your people, and you're arguing. How come you got to sit there? I should have sat there. Right? Can you imagine how they sat down? It would be like buying stamps at the post office, or trying to get on the airplane here in the Philippines. You try to get in front of everybody else. Even if it's a little girl, I'm going to go like that, get in front, because it's my right. I learned. No, that's not true. It's not right. All right. Who is the greatest? They're arguing about it. Shameful. Jesus announced that one of them would betray him. It was a surprise, and it was horrible. It was terrible, and it was never forgotten. You walk with somebody, you go to a home, you raise someone that's sick from the sickness, you do milagros, and preach the gospel together with somebody. And that's what happened with Judas. When Jesus sent out the 10, he was one of his missionaries. And they raised people from sickness. They did great miracles. Judas knew the power that Jesus could put upon them. And they betrayed them. And they never forgave him. You look in your gospel, anytime Judas' name is mentioned, it always says, Judas who betrayed him. Horrible. And we always try to understand that, and we can't. And as they were eating, he said, truly I say to you, one of you will betray me. They were very sorrowful and began to say to him one after another, "Is it I, Lord? Am I the one?" See how confused they are? Now, why would you say, "Is it me"? Do you think that Judas is the only one that had worldly thoughts? Of course not. What are they arguing about? They're trying to find a better position than somebody else. So they're still living for this world. Right? We have to fight that too. He answered, "He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me." Brethren, how would you like it if one of your friends, you had dinner with him and then he went out and betrayed you? Would it not be easier to take if he didn't betray you after eating with you? We have the word companion. That means somebody that eats bread with you. And we have a rule that you don't destroy people that eat together. That's why we in the church don't destroy each other, because we eat together. I'll just go on with that. As they read, he said, "I say, one of you will betray me." All right. Some thought that because Judas had the money bag. See, they got good thoughts about Judas. Because he had the money bag, Jesus was telling him, "Buy what we need to feast." Or that he said, "Give something to the poor." They had a good idea about what Judas was being told that. So after receiving the morsel of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night. Isn't it strange how it says that? It was dark. In his heart, it was dark. Jesus instituted the Lord's Supper. And we'll hit that again, but this we'll always remember. Every Sunday, every Sunday, every Sunday, you cannot break the bread and you cannot drink of the cup without preaching. You know that? When you break the bread, you say, "He become our brother." You got so much you can say if you're really talking rather than breaking the bread. And a stranger coming to our assemblies wondered, "What are you doing?" And the little children said, "Mama, why can't I have a cracker? And why can't I have the juice," right? And how can you explain to them you can't have the cracker and the juice because you've not yet become one who can say, "This represents my Savior. This represents the life of my Savior that was given to me," right? We begin to understand it. Judas missed so much because he missed out when Jesus was saying that you can be his, you will know that you are my disciples by your loving one another. And he announced that Peter would deny him. I think I put some symbol on it here. No, I didn't. No, wait, let's go back here. Peter is so sure that he will be brave and not betray Jesus. You know what Jesus told him in Luke? He said, "Peter, when you have been converted, then you strengthen your brothers." Was Peter the greatest of the apostles?
He fell over.
How could he be the greatest when Jesus wouldn't let him argue about who was the greatest? And he told him, "You're talking about the world. You cannot bring the world into the kingdom of Christ. There is no Pangolo except Jesus Christ." Correct? Cannot be. Cannot be. And besides that, when did he quit being in his church? I forgot. "Lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world." Correct? So we must remember that. Friday was a day of agony. The Lord's Prayer in John 17. And in that prayer, he prayed for himself. "Father, give me the glory I had with you before. Give me the glory I had with you before." He wasn't a thought in God's mind. He was a real person before. And he had the glory, the kind of glory that you saw on the Mount of Transfiguration before. Who else did he pray for? The ones who were walking with him. "Father, they're mine. You've given to me. Don't let any of them be lost except the one who is the son of destruction." And then who else did he pray for? Did you know that? Did you know that Jesus mentioned you that night in his prayer? "Father, I don't pray for these only, but I pray also for those who will believe on me through their words." He looked down through all the ages to this night and looked at us. And he was praying for us. That's why he is our intercessor. Jesus doesn't want us ever to fail. He's praying to God, "Help them. Help them." Correct? And he sends his Spirit to do the same thing exactly. To help us. Jesus prayed in Gethsemane. We sing that song about in Gethsemane alone. Well, he took his disciples with him, and that's in Gethsemane. Perhaps it was the hardest prayer ever prayed. And we say, because we're all very logical people, how come he's praying when he knows he's going to die? None of us have ever faced anything as terrible, as horrible as Jesus is going to face, in that he is going to be blamed for everything he's ever done wrong, and he's going to be punished for everything anybody's ever done. And if you dare to tell me that a man who murders somebody, like the brother we've got up in Isabella, who killed 3 policemen and shot 2 more, wanted to kill all 5 of them in revenge for them, I don't know what the word for it, but one of his fellow countrymen, fellow place, he's a Ifugao, and he was taking revenge for what they did to one of his fellow Elian. Can he be forgiven? He killed 3 people and tried to kill 2 more. And yet every Sunday, every Sunday now in that prison, when they gathered for the Lord's Supper, the man who is in charge is the man who killed 3 people and tried to kill 2 more. How can that be? He does not deserve to do that, right? But Jesus took his punishment. And here's where he has to agree to do it. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. What's in the cup, brethren? Whose sin? Now, wait. Be careful as you talk. Did Jesus die for the sins of the world?
Yes.
What is the most popular verse in the Bible? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe on him might not perish, but might have everlasting life. Did you say whosoever with me? Did you say whosoever with me?
No.
Did you say that Ifugao who killed 3 and almost killed 2 more, wasn't that whosoever? He is. Or you don't have any hope. Because we look at our sins as not very big, but that man did something terrible. But he did something terrible. But every one of us did something terrible. We've all been enemies of God. We believe that a man on death row can be forgiven. Correct? But Jesus is agreeing right here to take the punishment from his just Father, who is going to be the just judge, who is going to execute judgment, and he has to agree to do it because he is their brother and he wants to die for his brothers and sisters. We have to meditate on that and realize how grand and glorious Jesus Christ is. This is not a shallow thing. This is a deep thing. And that's why it's the deepest thing we're going to find in the gospel is what we're studying. The Father said, Jesus said, let it pass from me. What did the Father say? No. And Jesus said, nevertheless, inside me I don't want to suffer this. But nevertheless, what you want, I'll do. That's what he said. That's why it's the hardest prayer in the world. Jesus was not a coward. Humanity was in danger. All of us. No salvation without Jesus' suffering. He said, your will be done. He fell on his face and prayed, saying, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Not as I will, but as you will. Now, we talked a little earlier about crosses and wearing crosses and things like that. Let's think for a minute. Are we willing to say this kind of thing to Jesus? Now, hear what I'm saying? Are we willing to say this to Jesus? When we're facing something in life that's not right that we want to do, but we know he doesn't want us to, whose will is going to prevail? His or mine? This is the challenge, brother. This is the challenge. Christianity is not cheap. Christianity is deep. And it gets serious very quickly. Because we are the people God's going to call to change the world. We are ambassadors for Christ. God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. He was not talking to the outsiders. Brother Paul was talking to the Christians at Corinth who were not doing what was right. For our sake God made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that through him, that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Now, how could God make him salah? Huh? He made him what? Sin. So I ask you, did Jesus die to save you? Did he die to save you? Did he get between you and punishment? Did God hit him for you? And in the justice of God, God couldn't do that. He has to hit you. So when God looked on the cross, the face he saw was your face. He saw my face. And he gave us what we deserved. But our brother took it. Our brother took it. The eternal wrath of the Holy God was poured out on Jesus. This was the only time the Father and the Son were separated. And don't forget that cry, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? We're going to have to hurry. Sorry. Jesus could have called 12 legions of angels to deliver him. Could they have killed all those people? Could they have killed the Romans, angels? Could they? In the time of Sennacherib came against Palestine. He came and he was around Jerusalem, and in one night, Maisna in Angel killed 185,000 soldados in one night. The night before they're terrified, the next day they're all dead. One angel. And Jesus said, I can call 12 legions. You take 4,800 times 12. That's a legion for the Romans. And if there were that many angels, they could have killed everybody immediately. Just like when he comes again, Jesus is coming with his angels in flaming fire, taking vengeance upon those who know not God. This is scary, right? But it's wonderful too. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father? He will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? One angel was sent. And that angel was sent to comfort Jesus Christ while he was praying in the garden. You know, angels can tell us a wonderful story about Jesus. They were there when he was tempted. They were there when he was praying. They were there when he was born. They were there when he was resurrected. And they'll come back with him. The time when Jesus cried, Hebrews 5:7, and he was heard. The only time when Jesus called the Father Abba was here. That is, my dear Father, to be thy will. Judas came with a mob. That hatred rejects thought. You don't think. Peter cut off Malchus's ear in the garden there. You know what I studied today? There's something peculiar about when they come to get Jesus. All these people come with swords and clubs and lanterns, right? There's the high priests and the Romans are all mixed up together coming to get Jesus, right? When they come and said, he says, who are you looking for? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. What did he say? They go, Amen. I am. What did they do? Did he say, get him? Grab him? What did they do? Do you all remember the story? They fell down on the ground. Could God have killed them instantly? Could one who raised people from the dead kill people? If he can kill a tree overnight, they couldn't have taken Jesus, could they? They fell down on the ground. Why? Because Jesus was in charge. He is like the lamb being led to the slaughter, saying nothing. He is going to save us. And he will let them capture him and abuse him. He's already predicted it 3 times. Amazing story for you. Peter denied him 3 times. I'll die with you. Don't be mean to Peter. Don't be mean to Peter, because we do it too. But it's horrible to say, I don't know him. I don't know him. And then curse and say, I swear to God I don't know him. Can you imagine? He's your best friend. And then Jesus looks at him, and Peter's broken hearted. Don't we love Peter? Not because he's the head of the church. We love Peter because he's like us. He cried bitterly because he had done exactly the opposite of what he said he was going to do. Jesus came then. He was brought before Annas, then to Caiaphas. This man is the father-in-law of this man. And he was the father-in-law of most of the high priests. So you see the nepotism, you know that word nepotism? They were cheaters. And he made his relatives high priests so he could keep in charge. So they brought him first to him, then to his son-in-law. And this is the fellow that said that it's good that one should die for the nation. So there shall be no fair trial for Jesus. Not with these men. Then the Sanhedrin, was they brought there, and then they brought him to Pilatus. They brought him into Herod. And Herod could have freed him. Pilate could have freed him if they were men of justice, but they were not. And he came back to Pilate. And this man was weak. And he died in exile. His wife warned him not to have anything to do with Jesus. Amazing story. And Judas says in our King James Version, he repented. Well, no, the word's not repent. It's not metanoein for you Greek students. What is it? That's the mental mind. I regret. Many of our friends who have bad habits like drugs and alcohol regret that they got drunk. But they don't change their mind and change their conduct, so they don't repent. Repentance means to change your mind and then make a decision and change your conduct. But not Judas. He's very proud to the day he dies. He did wrong. He's very sorry, and he had to deal with cruel, terrible men. Because when he took the money back and wanted to do away with the deal, he said, that's not our problem, that's yours. And he threw the money down. And he killed himself. You want to cry for him, but tears won't do you any good. What could he have done, brethren? Was there anything left for Judas? Does the scripture say he had to kill himself? Could he have done what Peter did? See, Peter's a traitor 3 times over. But when the time comes, he comes back to Jesus. Sad that Judas did not come back to Jesus. Suicide, he killed himself. Jesus on the cross for 6 hours, 9 in the morning till 3 in the evening. He died as a poor man, buried with a rich man. Correct? Borrowed tomb, there's a new tomb. God raised him from the dead. No. People knew that Jesus was dead. There's no doubt about that. The soldiers knew it. They knew it because they put a spear to his side and saw the water and blood come out, and John testified to that. Pilate knew it because he let the man have the body. Right? Joseph of Arimathea knew it because he asked for the body. Nicodemo knew it because he finally got enough courage to come and follow Jesus in his death, where he was following his life. And the women knew it because they were crying, and they followed, and they watched where they buried him. Continue to come back in 2 days and take that body and re-wrap it and do other things to it. Saturday was a day of absence. If Satan ever had a banquet in hell, it must have been on Sabbath. It was a good day for the high priest. He got what he wanted. Jesus was resurrected on the first day of the week. Forget all the arguments. Matthew 28 says it, Mark 16 says it, Luke 24 says it, and John 20 says it. Sunday. Wow. What is that day we call it on our calendar? What's our name for the Spanish word? Not talking about the Domingo. Domingo. Dominy's Day. Dominy's Day, the Lord's Day. The Lord's Day. On Sunday the tomb was empty. Did Jesus have to have the stone rolled back? No, we had to have the stone rolled back so we could see in. If he can come into a room that's locked, he can get out of a tomb that's closed. Alright? Why do you seek the living, the angel said, among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Appearances. This lady, Mary Magdalene, saw him. Ladies, can women preach? different for women to preach than women to be preachers. But can a woman preach? What did she tell people? These women were the first ones to say Jesus is a raised from the dead. So the women were the first preachers. Did you notice that? Isn't that beautiful? The other women knew he was dead from the dead. They went and told Peter and the others, these women are just talking. I know what time it is. The men on the road to Emmaus, they didn't believe that he was going to rise from the dead. They had no hope, but they had, as soon as he broke the bread with them, and they said, didn't our hearts burn in us when he was talking to us? Peter knew it because Jesus appeared to Peter. 10 apostles knew it in John 20. A beautiful story. Who was absent? Judas was absent. Judas was absent. But on the second Sunday, Thomas was present. Now, let me tell you something. Maybe some of you won't get to come back. All this story is told by John and the others to bring us to one point in our life where we will believe something and we will say something. What is it that we will believe? That Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. And what did Thomas say when he saw Jesus? What did he say? He said, "Bueno, aking Ginoo," is that right? Ug aking Jos. This whole story was given to us to come to the point where we will say, my Lord and my God. You own me, you direct my life, and you are my God. That's what we're coming to. Marami salamat, Daghan salamat, tonight.